Imagine someone hands you empirical proof that God exists. Not faith, not philosophy, actual, reproducible scientific evidence. The first question you'd ask is probably not, is God real? But which God are we talking about? Because here's the thing. You can't prove something is true without first defining exactly what that something is. And that's where this whole beautiful mess starts to unravel. For thousands of years, humanity has searched for God in two places: sacred texts and the cosmos. We've built temples and launched telescopes, all hunting for the same answer. But what if the evidence was hiding in plain sight, woven into the very fabric of the universe itself? Today, we're exploring one of history's most famous paradoxes, and the answer might be simpler than you think. Let me start with the origin story that changed everything. In the 1920s, a Belgian priest and physicist named Georges Lemaitre was studying Einstein's equations on general relativity. Most scientists, including Einstein himself, believed the universe was eternal and static, unchanging. But Lemaitre saw something others had missed. He realized that if gravity was curving space-time, then the universe couldn't be static. It had to be expanding. Think about it. If the universe is expanding now, then go backward in time and it was smaller, smaller, smaller. Eventually, it condensed into an infinitely dense point, a single moment of creation. Lemaitre called it the day without yesterday. Einstein reportedly told him, "Your calculations are correct, but your physics is abominable." The scientific community didn't want a universe with a beginning. A beginning implied a creator. But the math didn't care about their preferences. Decades later, Edwin Hubble pointed a telescope at distant galaxies and observed they were moving away from us. The universe was expanding. Lemaitre was right. Gradually, what started as a priest's controversial idea became the Big Bang Theory, the foundation of modern cosmology. Here's what matters. We can observe the aftermath. We can measure the cosmic microwave background radiation, the leftover heat from that primordial explosion. We can trace galaxies flying apart. The evidence is overwhelming. But here's where it gets interesting for our question. Does the Big Bang prove God? Well, it reveals something profound. The universe had a beginning. For billions of people, that fits perfectly with religious doctrine. Genesis starts with, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." Lemaitre himself saw his discovery not as proof of God, but as a window into how God works. The mechanism, if you will. But then Stephen Hawking came along and proposed something radical. Hawking developed what's called the no-boundary model. In quantum mechanics, Hawking argued, the universe doesn't start from a singular point with undefined physics. Instead, it emerges smoothly from quantum fluctuations. No boundary, no beginning moment. Time behaves like a spatial dimension at the origin, curving gracefully into existence without any edge or singular creation event. In his book, A Brief History of Time, Hawking wrote, "Because there is a law such as gravity, the universe can and will create itself from nothing." What place, then, for a creator? Suddenly, you have a universe that doesn't need a god to light the fuse. It explains itself through physical laws. But here's the problem with that argument, and philosophers like John Lennox immediately pounced on it. Gravity isn't a substance. It's a description of how matter behaves. A law doesn't make anything happen. Laws operate on something that already exists. If you invoke gravity to explain how the universe created itself, you've already assumed the universe exists. You're trying to pull yourself out of a swamp by grabbing your own hair, as Lennox put it. The question becomes, why do the laws of physics exist at all? Why is there gravity rather than nothing? Hawking's model doesn't answer that. It just shifts the mystery back one level. This is where we hit one of science's hardest walls, the infinite regress problem. If God created the universe, who created God? If something created God, who created that? Where does it end? For centuries, this question seemed unsolvable. Believers just said God is eternal, uncaused, the unmoved mover. Skeptics said it was a logical trap. But there's an answer, one that transforms the entire question. It came from a 17th century philosopher named Baruch Spinoza. He was so radical for his time that he was excommunicated. And here's why Spinoza saw the whole problem differently. He didn't see God as a separate being who created and then intervened in the world. Instead, he identified God with the totality of existence itself. This is the key insight. God isn't a creator standing apart from creation. God is the creative force underlying all of reality. The universe isn't made by God. The universe is God expressing itself. Every law of nature, every particle, every thought, all expressions of one infinite substance. Time is part of the fabric, not imposed by an external will. Everything that happens is a manifestation of this divine order, interconnected and governed by universal laws. Now here's why this solves the paradox. If God is not separate from the universe but is the universe, if God is the totality of existence and its laws, then the question, who created God, dissolves. You can't create what already encompasses everything. You can't stand outside the universe to create it because there is no outside. God isn't something that needs creating. God is the very mechanism of creation itself. This isn't poetic mysticism. This is rigorous philosophy. And history's greatest minds recognized it. Albert Einstein was profoundly influenced by Spinoza. In 1929, Einstein wrote, "I believe in Spinoza's God who reveals himself in the orderly harmony of what exists, not in a God who concerns himself with the fates and action of human beings." Einstein rejected the anthropomorphic God of traditional religion, the bearded man in the sky. The God he revered was the embodiment of natural laws themselves, the elegant mathematical harmony underlying all existence. Think about what this means scientifically. The Big Bang isn't God intervening in the universe. The Big Bang is how God manifests. Quantum mechanics isn't a random process defying divine purpose. It's how divine order unfolds at the smallest scales. Fine-tuning of cosmic constants? That's not accident or design by an external intelligence. It's the way the universe had to be because God is the universe expressing itself according to its own nature. Carl Sagan echoed this wisdom in Cosmos. The cosmos is within us. We are made of star stuff. We are a way for the universe to know itself. The elements in your body, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, were forged in the cores of dying stars billions of years ago. You're not separate from the universe observing it. You're the universe observing itself. You're God's self-awareness. That's profound. This framework also elegantly addresses fine-tuning. Why are cosmic constants perfectly calibrated for life? Not because an external God set dials, but because the universe's own nature, what we call God, necessarily expresses itself in a cosmos capable of consciousness. The universe doesn't just accidentally produce observers. Consciousness is built into its fabric. Self-awareness is fundamental. Psychologist Carl Jung proposed that our concept of God might be evidence of something deeper, an archetype emerging from the collective unconscious. When people pray, meditate, or experience the divine, they're connecting with something real, the fundamental order underlying existence. Not an illusion, not an external entity, but the deepest level of reality itself expressing through human consciousness. So here's the answer to who created God. Nobody, nothing. Because God isn't the kind of thing that gets created. God is the totality of existence and its laws. The question assumes God is like other things, a being, a person, something that had a beginning. But if God is the very mechanism of existence, then asking who created it is like asking who created existence itself. The question collapses because it's based on a false premise. The universe didn't get created by someone standing outside it. The universe is the manifestation of divine nature. Every atom, every law, every conscious mind, all expressions of God. Not God as an old man with lightning bolts. God as the creative order, the mathematical harmony, the inexplicable fact that there's something rather than nothing. This resolves the infinite regress. It bridges science and spirituality. It satisfies the deepest intuitions of both believers and skeptics. Because in this view, you can be a rigorous scientist and still recognize divinity. You can study physics and encounter the sacred. The universe isn't less meaningful because it follows laws. It's more meaningful because those laws are the face of God. That's the answer. Not an external creator standing apart, but the universe itself as the eternal, self-existing expression of divine order. God doesn't create the universe. God is the universe. And we're not observers watching from outside. We're the universe becoming conscious of itself. Like this if your mind just got blown. And subscribe for more cosmic mysteries that actually make sense.